Hi, I'm Andy Acton.
And I'm Chris Strevens.
This is Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. Wow, Preetee Hylton's got a story to tell, hasn't she?
Oh, flipping heck, I tell you, that's a wide-ranging podcast, that one. From what she did, as in a child, coming to the UK, sort of on her own, really, and then the way it went, and then domestic abuse. Oh, I mean, it's flipping heck.
There's a lot. But
there's a lot in there.
And we are all products of our experience, but the bit for me is how important her environment is in creating the stability and the space for her to grow and go on and have the success that she's having.
I think one of the lessons of listening to that will be, if you speak it out, you'll be really surprised at the reaction of other people. You know, if people are concerned about saying something, they'll be surprised at the positivity that came out of that negativity. It was amazing.
No, it was an amazing episode. We should highlight that this episode does talk about domestic abuse, so you should be aware of that before listening to this episode. And there are some links in the guest notes if you did need any help in that area. So there's some links if you need them. But yeah, over to the episode now. It's a sunny day. We have microphones. We have our setup. It can only mean one thing.
The aircon's on?
The aircon is on because it is very warm in London at the moment. It's a very, very warm day.
It is a very warm
But we're podcast recording, which is fabulous.
Woohoo!
And I'm excited, very excited today, because today we're joined by Preetee Hylton. Preetee's a nurse and also president-elect of the British Association of Dental Nurses.
Ooh.
Welcome, Preetee. How are you?
Yeah, hello.
I'm very well, thank you. It's quite hot already. How are you both?
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
I feel you should have a chain or something. You're like a...
Like the mayor?
Yeah, like
Do you get driven around in a car and things like that?
Yeah.
That would be cool, wouldn't
I
it?
don't have it yet, so I'll receive that in October.
Oh, there is
I
one?
have to take very good... Yes, there
Oh, I didn't
is.
realise. I was joking. Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Oh, I didn't realise you
No,
truly
I
had
do
one.
get one. And I have
Excellent.
to wear them at important events.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Before we get going, Preetee, you say you're in love with the profession, but it wasn't always the case. Love's quite an emotional word, isn't it? So
It is.
Are you quite a heart
an
on the
emotional
sleeve?
word.
It is.
I think you'll
isn't
find it's a very
it's
emotional
the emotional word. But are you a heart on the sleeve type person? Does that encapsulate you?
Yes, probably it does. But you're right. I am in love with dental nursing, and it's not just me. I think it's because I love my clinician, I love my team, I love the practice I work at, and actually it's my clinician's birthday today. So happy birthday, John! So special day. But you're right. I wasn't always in love with it. I started dental nursing in 2008, I believe. I was a trainee. That was sort of okay. I was working in 2 practices part-time. And one of the practices was great. The other one, not so much. But I passed my exams. I went on maternity leave. And then I started working in an NHS practice. And that was quite interesting as well, because I was used to busy NHS practices, but I worked there for about 3.5 years. And during those 3.5 years, so I went from dental nurse to decon lead to head nurse to head receptionist and to practice manager. Yeah,
Wow.
It was really quick. And it was quite challenging as well. I was going through domestic abuse, which we will talk about probably later on. But it was, although it was really hard, I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot about time management in dentistry, because you do see a lot of patients. So that was at the point when I got to being practice manager. So I wasn't just practice manager. I was a dental nurse. I was a dental receptionist. Like, I had so many roles at the same time. And I ended up being ill because I was overworking and it was really hard. But I'm the sort of person, I'll be like, I can do it. You give me anything, I will be
You
able
almost
to.
take on too much.
Yes, and I just push myself.
You want a job done, ask a busy person, isn't that the phrase?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did, and then I left. I did a bit of locuming. I ended up where I am now at the number 8 partnership, which is private practice. And I think I flourished there as a dental nurse because I think it was John. It was my dentist. I had, when I was locuming, I had applied for a job at the Eastman's Dental Hospital. And they were like, so Preetee, you're locuming with us. Why don't you apply to work with us? Because we don't have a nurse. I thought, but I've applied to work at the Eastman's and I've always wanted to work in a hospital. And then I thought, do you know what? I do like working with John. So I gave it a go. And there was, I'll be honest with you, there was a pay difference.
Yeah.
So I thought, I probably need the money as well. So I did. I jumped.
But that's the truth. A lot of people they're not as honest as you've just been about that. A lot of people say, oh, no, the pay's not that important.
I love
it's
it.
not about the money. The truth of the fact is that for most people, we need to earn an amount of money to live the life we want to live. And I think there's no shame in changing jobs for more money. It isn't the only reason, but it is a factor when considering if you're going to be changing jobs. And I think a lot of people kind of almost feel a bit mucky by saying
it's
that.
dirty, isn't it, thinking about money?
But it's just the truth. Most people, if you halve their pay, they would not stay working where they are. And if they were given the opportunity to double their pay, they would move. That's just life for most people.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right that it was the pay that swayed me. And I did at that point in my life, I did need financial help. So I did. But like you say, it wasn't just that. Because I'd been working as this locum nurse at the practice, I got to see how the team is, how the practice manager is, how my clinician is, and how he worked. And the great thing about them was like, I can ask my clinician any question, anything. I didn't have any experience in implant nursing, and they were doing implants there. And he taught me every single thing from scratch. And I really appreciated that. Like anything that I don't understand. Like he never makes me feel like stupid. You know, sometimes you ask someone a question and they go like, why are you asking this? But for me, it was like, he'll be so patient with me. Like he'll explain everything. And I still keep a notebook at work. After so many years, like anything that I want to learn, I make a note of it and I will ask questions. So yes. And also when you meet other people who've achieved a lot more than you and you want to learn from them. And I think that's what I've done, like in my journey in dental nursing, is that, I've read magazines, I've met this person, and they've got so much to offer.
Yeah.
And I love that, and people who are happy to share their knowledge, their skills, and teach you, and absolutely love that. And this is what I carry on doing.
It's about learning from other people's experience rather than having to bumble your way through it. We all want to learn our own experience, but if someone else is there willing to teach, use it.
Absolutely. And what I find fascinating and intriguing is we started from the word love. And actually what you've actually described is how important your environment is. Because it was the environment of working with John, being in the right practice, having a supportive team. And I think often we don't pay enough attention to the environment we're in because that has such an impact on how we feel, how we perform, how we behave. And when you found an environment that worked for you, to use your words, you flourished. But before that, you found yourself bouncing around because perhaps the environment wasn't quite right.
Burning out by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Can we go right back to the very beginning?
Yeah. What got you into nursing?
Yeah. What was your upbringing like? Do you have family who were in the profession? Were you an outlier? What does that look like when you were young?
So I'm originally from Mauritius.
Oh, okay.
I don't have my parents. They're not here. They're all the way in Mauritius.
Oh, wow.
No.
So I came here. So back to childhood. I had a very strict childhood. I feel like I was like, my parents were quite they were very strict, and the focus was much more like on education. I feel like I was quite clever when I was a child, and then that just sort of declined.
Did your teachers agree with you, or was it just you that felt like that?
Yeah. Did your exam results agree with that? Yeah.
No, terrible exam results. So in primary school, I was great. I was the sort of child, like, you know, when you go to the shops and you buy all the books. Before the term started, I would have read all the books. I would have probably like done all the worksheets that they had in the books. That was me in primary school. And my parents, mum and dad, were so focused on, like, we had this ranking system as well in Mauritius, like for every class you go through, like who comes first, and you get like this prize giving event as well at the end of the year. And I always came like first or second, which is great. But then I went to secondary school.
So there feels like an until moment going to be here.
Yeah. But yeah, the thing is, I grew up like in this small village. I don't know if you've heard of washery tea. If I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. So that's where I come from. So where I live, it is like surrounded by tea fields and sugarcane fields. Mum used to work in a hospital, so most of my time, my childhood during holidays, was spent like going to work with mum, like in the hospitals, like, because, you know, it could be a bit boring spending time with like aunties and uncles. So in the hospital,
go and see the blood and injuries.
Maybe that's why I get this wrong.
Somehow, maybe there's a hint in there.
Yeah. So I've got two brothers, by the way. I'm the eldest one. One's in education and one has just started as a healthcare assistant. So you do get a bit of like medicine, like not really dentistry. The only thing I would remember from my childhood is mum like yelling at me to brush my teeth every night. I don't know if she had a thing for toothbrushing. She was shouting at me for brushing my teeth. I've got a good relationship with my mum, by the way. Now I do. But going back, like primary school, it was great. But secondary school, I felt like, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the hormones. Maybe it was peer pressure. I don't know. I'll be making excuses. Or maybe I just became less clever.
Partying and boys, maybe.
No, maybe it was boys. Maybe it was a bit boys. Not partying though. But yeah, I did great for my. We don't call it O-levels. We call it GCSEs now, do we? Yeah. So I did okay. It was O-levels were great. A-levels weren't really great. It was really hard. I think it was also because I'd been like this only child for about 8 years. And suddenly, like, my brother came along. But yeah, it was an interesting childhood because I remember my mum doing night shifts as well, and my dad wasn't great at waking up at night. He's a great dad, but he wasn't great. So I used to wake up, and I was this 9-year-old, like waking at night to look after this baby as well. It's not how we do things here, by the way. I know that.
Well, you grew up very quickly.
I did. I grew up quite quickly. But yes, and then I was sent here. I always wanted to be a midwife or a gynecologist, by the way, but that didn't happen. I was sent here, and mum thought
when you say sent here,
why were you sent here?
Was that your parents' choice?
Yes.
Did you have family and friends over here?
I have family, but I wasn't too close to them. Now it's much better. But no, I didn't have any family. And this is something that not many people know. But when I was sent here, like we were scammed. So, and that used to happen back then, you know, when there was like colleges and stuff. And so Mum wanted me to study law. Don't know why. Like, I was always like a biology, chemistry type of person. I used to read a lot, and I used to argue a lot, probably with Mum. That's why she thought it. But
We've had that from someone else, actually, haven't we? Someone else thought they'd be a lawyer because they were very argumentative in their youth.
Always creating trouble and always having an answer for just about anything. But no, that didn't happen. So one of my cousins, she was doing dental nursing. I don't think she completed her course, but she recommended it. And that's where I started.
So how old are you then, Preetee? Is this you 18?
Oh my God. I was 89. I was sent here. Yeah, I was 18, I believe. Yeah.
So did you sort of rock up on the shores and not? So where did you live then? Did you live with family, or did you have to find somewhere?
My mum had this friend's son who was like trying to help, but he wasn't much of a help. Like, it was the reason why my journey is literally a series of like unfortunate events, which is quite funny. I can laugh about it now.
Dear.
But so it wasn't great at first. Like,
are you fiercely independent and resilient as a result of these early years? Because from what you're describing, I think a lot of people would find it incredibly challenging.
Fly back to Mauritius.
Yeah, but you're kind of laughing about it like, oh, it's just part of my story and it all turned out fine. But there must be some crumbs that mean you became very independent. You look after yourself. You know what you need to do to get by, and also resilient as a result of what you've just described as this experience.
Yes, I would like to say yes, fiercely independent. Like, it doesn't go down well with my partner at the moment, because it's like, even if something is on the top of a shelf, I'll be like, no, I'll be able to get that. I know I'm short, but I can do it. And he's just there. He's like, you can just ask me. I'm taller than you. I'm like, no, I'll get a chair. I'll do it myself. But I've slowly learned to be able to accept help from people. But yeah, I went through a lot. I am quite independent. Resilient, I don't know. I really don't know about that. Maybe from someone else's perspective, when like you say, I'm telling this and laughing about it, which I shouldn't really. I've got a very dark sense of humour as well. Twisted and dark. But yeah, I
feel
do
like there's a book in here somewhere. Yeah. Everyone should write a book.
But yeah, it's been hard, even when with the domestic abuse. I think like everyone knows about it now because I go on about it. But it's that was really challenging. I was going through it when I was made practice manager. So,
we'll come on to that in a second, because it's clearly it's obviously something that's affected you and a serious topic. But before we get to that, in terms of your dental career and how that kind of moved, you in your opening you were saying, I was a nurse, I was a head of decon, I was then head of reception, and I was practice manager. You still nurse now mostly? Are there other elements to your role within the practice, or are you focused on nursing now?
So I am a full-time nurse, so I do work about 37 hours per week, like doing just dental nursing.
Just nursing, right?
Yeah, hands-on dental nursing. But I am also the safeguarding lead in the practice, along with John, who's also the other safeguarding lead. I do teach as well part-time. I do teach dental nursing, so with the Dental Nursing Academy. I'm also doing my assessor course with them at the moment. What else do I do? I am an examiner with the National Board of... Oh my gosh, I've forgotten the NEPT, National Examining Board for Dental Nurses. There we go. That happens about twice a year. I've I am an editorial board member for the Dental Nursing Journal, but I've also had a few other roles. I used to work with the ITI dental nurses, so I was one of the founding members, so more focused on implant nursing, surgical. I've left them because I had a lot going on.
Flip.
I was doing my oral health education then, so I thought it was too much. But currently, whoever's taken over, like the girls are absolutely amazing and they're doing so well. So proud of them.
What do you do for fun?
What do I do? Do you know what? I love gardening. And this morning I went out, and it's been hot, so it was a bit chilly this morning. I went out. I've got a little garden, but it's got a huge tree on it. And it's got loads of ladybirds. So I enjoy gardening a lot.
That's your reliefs.
Yes. What do I do for fun? I I read a lot. I read a lot of like fantasy and sci-fi books.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Quite nice for escapism.
Yes. If things get a bit overwhelming, I tend to like go away for a bit, maybe for a short weekend, and take a book with me. I try not to look at my phone. Stay away from it.
Are you happier now? When you were describing the early part of your career, it sounded to me like it was a bit chaotic.
Yes.
Yet what you described now, it seems like there's a lot more stability with the majority of your time being nursing, which I get the feeling that that's where your love and your passion is. My mother was a nurse, and so she went into nursing to care for people. And by the time she finished her career, she was basically working on spreadsheets and managing a hospital. And she'd moved so far away from patient care, it saddened her because that wasn't why she entered the profession. And I see some of that in you, in that you kind of almost moved away from nursing, but you're back now doing the bit that you really love.
Yes. That's exactly what happened. Like I would I say that I enjoyed management. I learned a lot from it. I wasn't a great practice manager, I'll tell you this. I got the job done. The practice needed managing. I managed that, financial side of things, like CQC inspections, like anything regarding management. But I don't think I was good with the dental nurses or with the staff, because I think there was so much pressure. I do have a good relationship with them now, like they're friends. But I do. But I do. We talk about, like, we meet up.
But at the time, I was a little what's it?
And we talk about things. And I remember one day I was so frustrated, and I'm very ashamed to say this. I said to a dental nurse that your best is not good enough for me. And do you know what? I will say this, and this can go out that right outside, like in dentistry, that's perfectly fine. But I think about it, and I thought afterwards, like, how she must have felt when I said that, because I didn't think it through. And now I'm quite different. I always like try to like think it through. I try to like put myself in someone else's shoes and think that how would they feel if I said this to them. Which I think, like, I've grown. I'd like to say I've grown quite a lot, like when it comes to emotional intelligence as well. You have to think about how you say things, not just about what you say. So yeah, I wasn't a great people's manager, maybe. But it was all the paperwork. It wasn't something I didn't like enjoy it. I got the job done, but I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, I did go back to dental nursing because I absolutely love, being in surgery. Like, you contribute, isn't it? Like, to the patient care. And I really like my patients. They're amazing. Like I said, I love working with my team. Like, in my practice, if a dental nurse is free, I don't even have to like ask them, can you come help me? Like, they will just jump in, come into my instruments. Preetee, do you need anything? Do you need a cup of tea? Like, they are incredible. Like, and it's so easy. Like, I walk into work and it's like, it's great. Like, I'm happy here. But in a way, work has helped me deal with other personal issues, like when, like you say, everything was chaotic, because sometimes your personal life sometimes leaks into your work life, like whatever you're feeling in your personal life, like it shows like in your professional life as well.
And vice versa as well. Quite often people take a stressful work day home. And I guess we're all joined up one way or the other. So I think it's incredibly difficult to draw a line and say that it stays here or it stays here.
Definitely.
I think what you've described is not an unusual situation.
Yeah. So it was really challenging, but now I'm happy.
What I find fascinating is you don't say the practice I work at. You say my practice.
Oh.
No. It's lovely because you feel a connection that it is your practice. It's my practice. I belong there and I'm an important part of it. Lots of people talk about the place they work as the place they go to at work.
Yeah.
Whereas you say my practice because you clearly enjoy it.
You're invested in it.
And it's beyond a job. You feel that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
which it's a subtle difference. You've mentioned a couple of times about domestic abuse, and obviously you're part of the safeguarding within the practice. I guess this gets wrapped up in a number of different ways. There's a duty of care from the practice to patients. There's a duty of care to the team members in the business. But this was born out of your own personal experience as well, wasn't it? This week's episode is brought to you in partnership with Ultimate Dental Business. We know as guys who have supported dentists for over 25 years and through hosting this podcast that building business skills in dentistry is vital. Time and again, we hear from dentists who tell us that they find the business side of dentistry the most challenging. And we know that stress and pressure comes from doing things we don't feel well equipped to do. That is why we are delighted to be part of Ultimate Dental Business, the new dental business hub delivering top-tier business training for dentists. Founded by Dr. Brad Thornton and Dr. Krupal Shah, Ultimate Dental Business is a response to the lack of robust dental business education currently available. Through our effective collective discussions with dentists, it was clear they most needed good structure and effective guidance to give them the knowledge and tools to be successful dental business owners and to create a business that serves them rather than the business that takes all their time and energy to keep going. To find out more about developing your own business education, click on the link in the show notes or go to ultimatedentalbusiness.com.
Yes, it was. That started when, like I said to you, when I was doing practice manager, but it started long before that. It was even when I was a trainee. But again, then trying to talk about it to your colleagues, like, when you're ashamed of it, like as a person, as a human being, you're expected, like, you're loved, like you're cared for. And when that doesn't happen, like, I think, it was really hard to talk about it. But even when I did mention it, like, people would say, maybe you said something. And now this wouldn't, it wouldn't be tolerated. You don't victim blame or victim shame. But yes, it started then. I used to go to work like with bruises on my arms, and I knew people would talk about it, but they wouldn't ask me, and I didn't want to talk about it as well. So when it happened, it was really hard because I was like officially homeless for a bit as well because I had to leave home. I was put in temporary accommodation, still trying to work, still trying to get the kids to school. It was, and I don't want to sort of blame my employers back then, but because they probably hadn't experienced any of their employees going for this. So they probably didn't know how to support, like what to offer. And it's not easy to ask someone either, like, even asking, like, is something happening at home or anything? But some of my colleagues did help me, like even giving me like bed sheets, like pillows, like, clothes, like, which was really good. And I'm very grateful for it. But it was just very, very toxic for me to go through it. And whilst working at the same time, having no support, and especially having no family.
It's fearful as well, I think.
It is.
We used to do some work with
Yeah.
women from abuse, and they would, we would get them into safe houses, and then you'd have to make sure that the partner didn't know where they were. It was, and you imagine you've got that hanging over you all the time, a fear. They know where you work.
Yeah, exactly. But it was. It was, but it's not just the physical abuse. I think that's what many people don't realize, but it's the emotional side of it. It's the financial side of it, because back then I had a joint bank account and I wasn't earning much anyway. As a dental nurse, you weren't earning much, but all of that, because we had a joint account, means that he could use anything that that I was earning, the little bit. So when all this happened, like, I had to go try to separate him from my bank account, which was quite hard, actually. But when it comes to like work wise, I know we focus a lot on patients, like patient safety, patient care, like safeguarding our patients, and we all receive training for it. And it's really hard if someone doesn't want to disclose, or if you see in a patient that they've got bruises. Like, what we do, even with children, with grown-ups, we always ask them, or if they've come into the surgery and you can see they've fallen down, they've hurt their head, like, we always ask them, oh, how did that happen? And we write everything down in the notes. But when it comes to employees, I think it's hard. Like, in my practice, this is why I love my practice, we can easily talk. It's so comfortable to just like talk about the most difficult things. We're talking about maybe domestic abuse, like even suicide awareness, mental health. Like, we're very open about it.
How have you created
the
a
culture
to give the space for people to have those sorts of conversations? Because I think you're right. I think there's awkwardness, there's stigma, there's embarrassment, there's the prying aspect. There's a lot of stuff mixed up in these awkward conversations. So how have you got a culture where people can easily sit around and talk about?
Before, did you have? So when you left, were you at the practice you're at now when you left, or had it happened before you came?
It happened before. But where I work now, I told my practice manager and my clinician John everything that was happening, because when you're going through court, like family court, and there's constantly someone accusing you of stuff as well, and you have to try to counteract that. And I had to say to them, like, look, all this is happening, and do you know what? I shouldn't say surprisingly. It was surprising to me that they were so understanding. They were like, any time that you need, we know you're going through this. If you need time off, and I just started. But they were so nice about it, and for me that was quite surprising, because suddenly I've got this support that I've never had in my previous workplace, and it started me talking to John about it, and he was talking about, like, he listened. That's the thing he did. He listened. He didn't judge. If I asked for advice, he'd give it to me. He didn't pry, but it was just easy. If I needed help, I needed advice, I needed to talk to someone about it, I would go to him. And then it sort of, I became, because he gave me sort of this platform to talk to him about when I feel vulnerable, actually. I think I got more comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say,
talking about
it's a positivity out of the negativity, isn't it? Out of the horrendous situation. In a way, you sort of had to turn up and be a full disclosure book, but because you effectively fully disclosed, you felt really cool about it. They obviously responded really cool about it, but then gives you a platform to to then be able to talk about it, which by the sounds of things has had a positive impact on your team because they now feel that they can talk about it. It's amazing, really. Yeah.
Yes. So like we genuinely support one another in the practice. So if if John comes and tells me I'm not feeling great, so I'll be like, he cycles a lot, so we'll be like, oh, maybe you need to go on a cycle. But it's so open. I just love it. You know, no one judges anyone in the practice. We always listen, even if anyone is unwell. It's or you know, or they're not feeling great. Like we'll jump in. You know, we'll help out. You know, it's no big deal. You know, it's not as if, oh, I have to do it. No, it's not like that. If someone needs support, they're getting it. That's the end of it.
That's a great.
I was going to say, having that sort of
It's
environment,
like a family, isn't it? Well, probably better than a family, to be honest.
for team members is
Yes.
brilliant.
I'll say that.
You've got quite a good overview, and we'll come on to your role at the BADN in a minute.
Yeah.
But you've got quite a good overview, kind of on nursing generally. What's your take across the profession in terms of how nurses are valued and how they're treated generally?
Oh dear. How are we treated generally? This is a difficult one, isn't it? I feel from the dental nurses that I've met, from reading on social media forums and platforms, dental nurses do not get the recognition and the appreciation that they deserve. Sadly, it's hard work, dental nursing, because how I see it as a dental nurse, I personally, I'm trying to make my clinician's life easier. Like anything that he needs, like anything, like even from like going in the morning, like discussing what are we doing during the day. So in my head, I've got like how much time I've got for decon, like what materials, stock, is everything okay? Like you make the surgery like run as smoothly as you can. And you know, we're not just there to we're not just a helper, like we're professional GDC registrants. You know, like we didn't just like back in the days, you could just take someone like, I don't know, from the streets and like come ask them to help you. That would be a dental nurse.
Yeah.
But currently we have to go through a course. We have to qualify, and the courses have changed as well. Back from when I did my course from what it is now, it's very different. It's harder, much more challenging, very difficult. But we qualify, like we are professionals, like we have to be one step ahead of the dentists when we're carrying out treatments. And you have to have that knowledge, you have to have that skill. Like time management is great, but it's not just that. You also have to know about different laws, legislations. You've got like you say, safeguarding, we've got GDPR. You also need like soft skills, you know how to deal with patient, communication skills. You need to know a bit of admin as well, so booking patient appointments, sometimes taking payment. So it's all of that, and stock as well. And you might think that, you know, it's just easy. How hard could it be, like doing like stock control? But it is. You know, you need to have a whole list of things.
It's really simple. Nursing's really easy. You just give like a mirror every once in a while, don't you? That's all it is. Stick that thing in your mouth.
No, it is really hard. But then you have like decon, which is where you need time to do it properly because you have to do it step by step. So we run around a lot.
Do you feel it's changed?
Sorry?
Do you feel it's changed? The attitude to nurses has
I
changed?
think it is changing now,
Yeah,
because
I think it is,
I think now there are, in certain places, dental nurses are appreciated. They are treated better, but that's because there is an awareness of the scope of practice of dental nurses, of what we do as part of a team. Because if you put two dentists in a room, one is trying to nurse, there's that sort of fighting for a power balance. You cannot put two dentists and they work together in a room. Absolutely not. And we are the ones, like, we compromise, like, you know, like we're there to assist, we're there to help you. And we don't just keep an eye. That's one of the things I was trying to teach my students as well, is that it's not just the dental nursing, it's not just materials, treatment, the clinical side of things. It's when, like, you're watching your patient, are they in pain? You know, you're watching their body language as well. You're watching their facial expressions, you know, are they comfortable? And that's from a medical emergency point of view as well. The extra tip I tend to give my learners is, like, keep an eye on your clinician as well. You never know, you never know if, especially in this hot weather, some practices, they don't have air conditioning. So, you know, we keep an eye, like, on each other, like, if you've got a good relationship. But yes, I feel like with the dental nurses that I've been interacting with, like, they are appreciated in their team. I find that if you have a dental nurse that has moved on to become a practice manager, they understand the dynamic of how a dental team works. So therefore, they are much more supportive. That doesn't mean that someone who hasn't had experience, like in dental nursing, cannot be a good manager. You could be a good manager, but I think that when you move on from dental nursing, you change your career path where you go into practice management, you have that. You've got an idea, like, how it works. But yeah, much more appreciation. Dental nurses, I think, are not everywhere, but the pay has slightly
we noticed in COVID and inflation that it was nurses were always historically underpaid, which to a certain degree, by the fact that they were being paid really cheaply, almost creates an attitude, because they're cheap, if that makes sense. And I think the dentists we saw had a real shock when they realised that actually nurses could go and work in Tesco's, earn more money than they were working, and get a 20% discount on there, because then they were saying, well, why do they want to do that? And the answer is because you haven't made them feel valued.
Exactly.
I think you're right. I think during COVID, I think there was a levelling up. I think quite a lot of people obviously couldn't work, so looked at other careers. And, you know, it is a high stress environment. For a period, it was almost working in like a hospital theatre. As opposed to a traditional dental surgery with all the PPE and the gowns and the
respirators,
everything else that went on. That's right.
Paid £8 an hour or £9 an hour.
So I think that is a challenge. And it's going back to what we were saying before, that people kind of do go to work to be paid, and I appreciate that everybody gets paid different rates, but where you have a kind of true philosophy around having a high quality team, you need to make sure that everybody in that team feels valued.
We don't see that many now when we don't do valuations anymore, but we do look at them and review them. But it's quite interesting. I would say now that it's rare to find a nurse on minimum wage. Whereas previously, I think it would be before.
There are some places. I think it depends on the location, isn't it? Like, there are qualified nurses who...
Training nurses. I mean, I get the apprentices and stuff like that, but I think we would see, you know, all £11.44 or whatever it is per hour, which is, you know, it's still not a huge amount of money, is it? Considering, especially as you say, your interactions. We were talking to dentists, and we were saying, you know, one of the hard things, and it applies exactly the same to nurses, is, you know, if Andy and I have a really crappy conversation or whatever it might be, we can have a cup of tea and sort of like have a wander or just a chat, whereas you guys can't. You know, you've got a book full of people, so you just have to keep going, don't you? You have to keep going, and then you might overrun, and then you've got to start again at 2, otherwise those people get grumpy. So you've got this whole structure of sort of almost like designed to put you under as much pressure as you can. Really. Hey, let's see who breaks.
I know. We're lucky if we can get to the book. We can get to go to the bathroom.
It is. It's nuts. It is nuts. When you look at the consistency of it, it's like, it is relentless.
And some of this Preetee kind of leads into your president-elect of the British Association of Dental nurse. He's taken up your position in October, so just later on this year. How do you feel about this new position, and what's your kind of agenda and plan for the year ahead?
So this actually stems from my domestic abuse period, because I was a member of the BADN then. And I remember that I wanted to attend one of their conferences, and like I said to you, like bank-wise, like financially, I couldn't. I had cash on me, but I couldn't actually pay it on the website to attend. So I had contacted Pam then to say, like, is there a chance, like, can I not pay now, but when I come over, I'll be able to give you the money? And she was lovely and, accepted. I went to the conference, but they also gave me some advice about who to contact, like victim support for domestic abuse as well, which was really nice. So I lost touch with them, but went back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, and I met Pam at one of the dental conferences, and I went to say hello. And I said, I don't think you remember me. And she goes, I remember you. And I was like, it hit me so hard. Like, I felt it in my chest. And she was just talking about me, like, how are you? How are things? And I'm like, no, things are going well. And she was like, and we were talking about it. And she'd asked me, like, you went through all that. Do you think you'd be able to talk about it, like, at a conference? And I'd never thought about it. And I thought maybe I could give something back, because what I went through, maybe others could learn from it, implement it in their practices, like raise awareness and blah, blah, blah. So I did that. And we got, like, we started working together, like, as a member, like I was doing things for them. And when COVID hit as well, I think I was, like with the BADN, like seeing what they're doing, etc. And Pam, no, it wasn't Pam who asked me last year. It was one of the dental nurses whom I've met on another course, because during COVID, I was like looking at courses, everything went online. So there was lots of opportunities. So I was doing these courses, sharing them on Instagram. And because, you had nothing to do. You were on furlough. I was on furlough for 9 weeks. And I was like, I can't just sit at home and like not do anything. So doing all that. And she's one of the nurses I met, and she asked me, and we became friends. And she was like, Preetee, do you think you'd like to run for president? And I thought, no, Jo Dawson, absolute wonderful dental nurse, focused in oral health. And I was like, no, that's not me. Like, I don't know. Like, I've met people. I love networking, love knowing people's stories, and, just getting to know them. And I said, no. So she let it go. But, she'd put that idea.
She
planted the seed.
Yes, she did. And
as a gardener, you know what happens when you plant a seed.
Exactly.
Oh, good link. Yeah, nice.
So it was there. But then I was having a chat with Pam, and she was like, Preetee, like, I'm just asking you, like, just casually, like,
no pressure.
do you think you'd no pressure? Would you like to run for president? She was like, look, just have a think about it. Like, but then I had to talk, because I asked her, like, what do you want me to do? She mentioned, like, you'll have to represent the BADN, like, attend meetings, that you'll contribute to, like, dental nursing and dentistry overall. And I'm like, okay. And I was already being told off at work, like, Preetee, you work too much. Like, you're always doing something, like, along with dental nursing. But I went to John, and I said to him, this has happened. I know it's a huge thing. And, I'll have to take time off work, because I'll need to attend meetings, I'll need to go to events. And I was like, if you tell me, like, you can't be flexible, but because he's always been flexible with me, which is nice of him, that's fine, I won't do it. But he actually said, yes, go for it.
Brilliant.
And I was like, really? So now, even as president-elect, like, he's been so flexible with me. Like, if I want a day off, like, or need a day off, like, he'll just like, because we work 4 days a week. So today's my day off. But if I need another day, he'll probably swap it over, or one of the nurses will just work with him, which is amazing. So I did that. So I said yes to Pam, and I ran for president. There was no one else who applied, so I got it. But I have been. I was always doing this, I guess, like speaking to dental nurses, knowing what's going on, like in the dental nursing world, in dentistry. So it wasn't difficult for me to just get into it. It's basically what I was doing anyway, and
So
I do it.
it's almost like formalising it, isn't
Yes,
it? With a chain.
Yeah.
I will. Do you know what? When I get the chain, I will take a picture of the chain.
Send us a picture.
Send it to
You're gonna have a look at that.
To tag us online. There it is. There's the chain.
Is it made of
There's the
gold?
chain.
Is it worth pinching?
Don't say that.
Preetee, it's been fascinating. I think you're a real testament to the fact that we are a kind of made up of our experiences. You know, right from your early days and it being quite challenging coming here without any kind of friends or family and forging your own way, and then the difficulties you had with the domestic abuse. But you know, the shining light that comes out of that difficult experience is how you've now impacted the culture in your practice. And even sharing your story, there'll be people that will be listening to this that will be like, actually, you know, am I in a great relationship, or do I know somebody that might be struggling, and could I say something to them and just kind of nudge them and find out if they're saying, because we do all find it incredibly awkward, but I think quite often
it's insidious, I think.
Yeah, but it's that silence, isn't it? The silence kind of just doesn't help, does it?
Preetee said, is it me?
Yeah.
What have I done?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really big one. I think that's a massive one.
Yeah, I do. But it was more, I think, because after that, I did have a lot of issues with mental health as well. So I'd been on antidepressants. I had one suicide attempt as well, because it was too much. It was a lot. And that's why I think I do what I do, because if I can talk about it, and it's uncomfortable talking about it.
And that's why it's so important that you do, but you feel you have the confidence and the ability to talk about it, because I think that's where it hides in people not talking about it, and because it doesn't get talked about as much, it's awkward to talk about it, and the people that are doing the abuse, that's where they get to
bring it into the light.
They get to hide, because they know that people don't. So you talking so openly about it, as hard as it is for you, I don't doubt it's going to help lots of other people in a similar situation, or other people they might know. But it's just tragic that you have to go through what you did to be able to have to tell that story.
And you're normal. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a normal person who's had a lot of interesting experiences.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that honesty and normality lands better with people.
Well, you're relatable. You know, like you say, it's not like, oh, well, that would never happen to me, because Preetee's like this. Oh, you're one of those. You're one of those type of people. It's not. You're somebody who works hard, who's got a professional qualification, who's working in a healthcare profession. You know, you're ticking all the boxes that lots of people say, well, that just sounds like a regular part of my community.
Yeah, it's just normal person.
If it affected you in that way, who else is out there that's being affected as well? Thank you, Preetee. It's been a great. It's been funny at times. It's been hard at times, but it's been a great conversation.
It is.
But we can't let you go yet.
No,
because we always finish up by asking our guests the same two questions.
it's going to be interesting.
It
got
will.
a dark sense
will
of
be very
humour. I've
interesting.
remembered that.
So the first question we have for you is, if you could be a fly on a wall in a situation, where would you be and who would be there?
Oh my gosh. A fly on the wall. Do you know where I would like to be? Have you heard of the Gillies unit?
No.
It's a cancer treatment unit in I think it's at Queen Mary's Hospital in London, and I've always wanted to be there. I would like to see the dental nurses who work there, especially, I mean, all members of staff, obviously, but how they interact with patients, the support that they provide, how they treat people. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Well,
But yeah, yeah.
well, we've never had that one.
No.
No, I did get in touch with someone. Like, I wanted to visit, but I think things got it's been quite hectic recently. But
When you're president of BADN, they'll let you in, I'll tell you.
No, but I would really like to do that. You know, maybe if ever I leave John.
Right.
That's a massive if. I think that's where I would probably go. But I would love to do more. I think that's one of the things that
You've got a lot of spare time, haven't you?
Yeah.
Don't say that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I'd like to do more. Yeah, of course, you fit that out probably Sunday morning about 3 to 4 in the morning, I'm sure.
Probably, yes. But yeah, the dental nurses who work there, I would love to be a fly on the wall and see how everything comes together.
Wonderful.
You know.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And if you could meet somebody, you're given the opportunity to sit
Living or
down
dead,
for,
fact or fiction.
Exactly. You can have a little drink with somebody and sit down and have a coffee or a glass of wine. Who would you like to meet?
This might seem a bit strange.
I'm intrigued now.
It's not a famous person. But someone I would really, really like to, like the person I am now, to go back. It's my great granddad. He's passed away. But yeah, I grew up with him. You know, like I was a little girl. Gardening comes from him.
Right.
But he's always he's always told me, you know, you will achieve things in life. And it's always like, you know, when there's this person whose blessings like stay with you. I'm not a religious person, not by any means. But yeah, if I could meet my great granddad again, like I would love that, because he'd look at me and he'd be like, I told you so. Because you know, growing up in this tiny village where, you know, you don't have much, and going from there to be here, like to be like a dental nurse.
He'd be very proud of you.
Yeah, he'd be very proud of me.
He'd be very proud of you.
And I would have loved to sit down and tell him, like, I've done all this, and yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Excellent.
Lovely, Preetee. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me.
No, it's been very enjoyable, and hopefully we'll get to meet at a dental event at some point in the near future.
Yes, I'm surprised I haven't met any of you. Or have I? Have we been at events together and I haven't said hello?
I'm sure we have. You probably ignored us.
I imagine that it's it's probably one of those. It's very, very likely we've been in the same room.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
now we've done this, we will definitely make
hello.
a point of having a
Absolutely.
Have
conversation,
an
which will be
entourage
lovely.
next time. It's like all these people buzzing around.
Yeah, and the president's car.
Yeah.
And the necklace and everything.
Yeah, the necklace.
And the next
And security. There's going to be like people like walking around with hands in jackets.
Can you stand away from the president, please?
Yeah, please. I'm armed with a mirror.
Lovely, Preetee. Look after yourself. That was wonderful.
Yeah, it was
Thank
really
you very
lovely.
much
Thank you
indeed.
very much.
All right.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.